Hi, everyone. Welcome to the College Fair West Coast Region 2023, hosted by the KCYLNA College and Career Fair Committee. Thank you so much for joining us today to hear more about colleges in the West. My name is Isba Pulkatortil, and I'm on the College and Career Fair Committee. I'm from Chicago, and I currently go to Washington University in St. Louis. Stacey, do you want to also introduce yourself? You're muted.
Hi, I'm Stacey Gunasheri. I'm also on the College and Career Fair Committee. I live in Sacramento. I went to California State University, Chico, also known as Chico State, studying construction management, and now I work for the state of California Department of Transportation.
KCYLNA created the College and Career Fair Committee just a few months ago, and this is our first event. So we felt it would be beneficial to do a college exploration event, especially during college application season. Today, we'll be hearing directly from current students and alumni who enjoyed their time at their school very much and want to share their experience with you all to help you explore your options as you look into colleges. Please remember to keep your mics off during the presentations, and we will have time for questions at the end of each speaker. We recommend that you put the Zoom in the side-by-side gallery, and feel free to message questions in the chat or use the raise hand button during our Q&A time. First, I'd like to welcome Matt Muttathil to speak about California State University Fullerton. Please remember to stay muted or save questions for the end.
I can find screen. Can I share my screen? Right. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
My name is Matt Mottapallikunnel, and I'm a student at Cal State Fullerton. So general information about Fullerton, it's like a big commuter school, so there's not really much to do on campus. But Orange County is a really like beautiful place to be. There's like the beaches, the Angel Stadium's there. They have a lot of stuff to do in the surrounding area, but on the campus, I would say it's a little bit more of a quiet school. It's not really much going on. The tuition is really cheap compared to most schools. In state, it's going to be $7,074, and then out of state, it's going to be $18,954. Some of the most popular majors there are going to be business, psychology, and nursing, which are ranked okay nationally. These are just some. I'll link this slide later in if you guys want to look at it later, but this is just the housing stuff. So the housing is divided in three parts. So there's residence halls, which is just dorms, and that's just for freshmen. Then there's the suites, which are for sophomores and juniors, and also for transfer students. And then lastly, they have the apartments, which are a little bigger, and they're for seniors and graduate students. These are the high school course requirements, which again, you guys can look at later if you want to. Then these are some of the more fun things to do within 25 miles. So there's going to be Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, which are like really big amusement parks. There's a few concert venues, such as the Observatory, House of Blues, and then the Honda Center. And then Angel Stadium's there, so if you like baseball, you can go watch that. And then Newport and Huntington Beach are really popular beaches in California, and they're right there. LA is going to be probably about a maybe 30 or 40-mile drive. And then it's probably going to be like an hour with traffic. So that's pretty close to if you do come here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Here's some links that I'll just start this slide. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Matt. While people are getting their questions in the chat or raising their hand, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite and least favorite part of college at Fullerton?
I think Fullerton's a really quiet school, so there's not really much going on like on campus. Like the The there's no football team. The basketball team's like okay. They have a solid baseball team, but like there's no sporting events that are that big, and it's a pretty quiet school. But I think the teachers there are really good, so that helps a lot for students.
Daniel has a question.
Yeah. Hey Matt, I was just wondering, so are you what exact plan are you doing in terms of like the dorming? Are you commuting or
So I live about like 20 to 30 minutes away from the school, so I just commute. And
oh sure.
with traffic, it's like the traffic in California is pretty bad, especially on like the major freeways. So it takes between like 20 minutes and an hour to get there sometimes.
Got you. Okay. Sweet.
Matt, why would you say that you picked Fullerton?
The cost is really low and they have a solid engineering program. And then I was also interested in some of the clubs they had on campus, which I probably should have talked about earlier. But they have I'm an engineering major, mechanical engineering. So I'm involved in a club called Titan Rocket, and they compete not nationally, just launching rockets in competition. And for mechanical engineering majors, there's 5 major clubs, I think. So there's Titan Rover, which is it's like they build a Mars rover and they send it to competition. They have a Formula One division, which is we build a Formula One car. They have an off-road, which is just like dune buggies, and then they have an airplane one, and then they have the rocket. So yeah, I think those clubs are really interesting if you want to get more involved on campus.
And one final question. What do you think, what study abroad offerings or traveling opportunities are you aware of through Cal State Fullerton?
I'm not really aware of that many, but there are like some study abroad programs, which I think one of them goes into somewhere in Africa, like I think it's like South Africa or something. But I think it's like for select majors, and I think you just have to look more into it. I think I left some. Like you can probably just go through the website and probably find it through there.
All right, and one more question in the chat. Matthew asked, how big are the classes usually?
Oh yeah, so that's one other thing I really like about the school. The class sizes are like really small, like high school size. So my biggest class I had was 80 students, which like compared to most like the UCs and stuff, they have over 200 people in their classes. So it's like your relationship with the teacher is more personal. Like I know all my teachers all know me by name, and like I'm able to text them and ask them questions if I have anything to ask. So it's like it's good, I guess, because you get to have a really close relationship with your teacher. That's one thing I like about it.
Great, thank you so much, Matt. If you want to put that presentation in the chat or put your contact information, that would be lovely. Next, I'd like to welcome Ashley Mattapallikunnel to help us get to know University of California Riverside a little better.
Okay, awesome. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Ashley Mattapallikunnel. I am born and raised in Los Angeles, California. So I'll quickly run through like, I guess, my educational background. But yeah, so I graduated from the University of California Riverside in 2019 with my bachelor's in biomedical engineering. I worked in California for 2 years at a medical device certification company. So I was helping new medical products get certified and helping them through like the FDA approval process. And then in 2021, I moved to Pittsburgh, where I started my grad program at Carnegie Mellon University. So I got my master's in biomedical engineering, and then I also got my master's in engineering management. And I just actually graduated this past May. And then now I currently work at Boston Scientific as a product development engineer. And so I'm working on the team that's developing a new aortic heart valve. So yeah, I really love this field. And so if any of you guys have like any questions or want to learn more about BME, like I'm more than happy to talk about it. I feel like there's not a lot of people in our community that are in this field. So It's very interesting. There's a lot to do, a lot of different fields that you can do within biomedical engineering. So I'm always happy to talk about it. But yeah, so going back to UC Riverside, so UCR is one of 10 UC's schools that we have in California. And there is about, I want to say now, 26,000 students, a mix between undergraduate and graduate students. I believe when I was there, it was close to like 22,000. So they've definitely grown in the last like 3 to 4 years. It's located in Riverside, which is about 2 hours, I would say 2.5 hours east from LA. Tuition currently is about 4,000 per quarter, and there's 4 quarters in a year. Typically, students only do fall, winter, and spring, so 3 quarters. So a year tuition would be around like 12K, or yeah, $12,000. And then there's 4 main colleges at UCR. So there's the Bournes College of Engineering, which was where I was predominantly at. There's a School of Business Administration. There's CHAS, which is the School of College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and then CNAS, which is College of Natural and Agricultural Sciences. But yeah, I mean, focusing more on, I guess, engineering, I felt like UCR did a really good job with the classes that they provided. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was there was a lot of like interdisciplinary classes that we took between all the different kinds of engineering. So I've taken, as a BME, I've taken mechanical engineering classes, electrical engineering, computer science, material science, and like I think our program is very much designed to get you exposure to a lot of different areas that biomedical engineering can be applied to. And UCR did a really good job with having a lot of technical projects that you can get involved that are like outside of your typical engineering class projects. And if you're really involved in like specific, I would say like biomedical engineering society, there's like a lot more ways that you can get connections in the industry. And through UCR, my 4 years there, I felt like there was a lot of different opportunities that presented itself that I probably wouldn't have gotten the chance to if I didn't go to this school. So I truly did enjoy my 4 years here. I had a lot of fun. It's not a joke when they say that college is the best 4 years of your life. It really is, finding the balance between school and also like, you know, exploring different things that you want to do, different things that you like. And I think UCR did a really good job with providing all the resources and opportunities for me to have a good college experience. I also want to talk about UCR's diversity. I remember while I was in school there, they got a lot of awards and like national rankings for the diversity at the school. And we have about, I want to say, over 300 or 350 student organizations when I was there. I'm sure the number has increased since I graduated. And I was heavily involved in the South Asian Federation, which is like an umbrella organization that oversaw 15 other South Asian orgs. And we did a lot of cross-functional like cultural programs and like events and like chai talks. And it was a really great way for me to like, you know, touch more into the roots of my culture and also learn about like other people's cultures. We also have a really great dance team. I was part of the Garba Ross competitive dance team. So I was doing that for 2 years and got to like travel to like 5 different states and compete. And then through my time on the South Asian Federation, we actually ended up getting like Organization of the Year, which is like a really prestigious award at our college. So I think UCR has a really good student population and very active in the student org section. And if you honestly, like whatever you want to get involved in, I feel like there's something or an organization or some kind of program that UCR can help you with. But yeah, for like fun stuff, I think that UCR actually has a lot of like music festivals and concerts, which was something that I did not think that we would have. I think we have like 4 to 5 every year. We've actually had like DJ Snake and like Trey Songs and like Sway Lee actually come and play. So it was really cool to be able to see that for free, I would say. But yeah, I think UCR, my time there was a lot of fun. If I could do it over again, I would definitely do it. I wouldn't change a single thing. So yeah, that's kind of all I had. If you guys have any questions about anything specific, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Ashley. Just a question to get us started. I know biomedical engineering is not a major offered at a lot of places or something that's very popular. How did you get into biomedical engineering?
Yeah, good question. So actually, I was on the track to be a doctor, or at least my parents wanted me to be a doctor from when I was a little girl. Like they were always like, "Oh, she's gonna go to medical school," and like somewhere along the line, I thought that's what I wanted to. But then when I actually got to my junior and senior year of high school, and I had to actually figure out like what it is I wanted to do with my life, I realized like I didn't really want to be in school for that long, and I didn't want to be in school for like majority of my 20s. And so for me, I wanted to choose a career that I can go like 4 years and then kind of start working right away, jump into industry, and then kind of grow my career, grow in a company. And then I always thought that like I would go back to get my higher education. That's kind of what I wanted. And I really love math, and I really love like biology and chemistry. And so when I was looking into it, engineering was always something that I was really interested in. I really like taking things apart, putting it back together. Like if there's something that's not working, like why isn't it working? Those were some of the things that I really enjoyed doing. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe engineering is a good field. But I still really did like the medical field. Like I feel like 90% of my family is in the medical field. So um, I feel like growing up, I have a lot of background in that. And I felt like biomedical engineering was actually like the perfect mix between like medical and like the whole like hospital and like understanding like biological stuff. But then the engineering aspect gives a little bit more of like a technological background to it, which I really like. And so I think BME kind of addresses like two sides of what I'm interested in, like technology, and then also like combining like science and like medical to that.
Okay, it looks like we have another question in the chat. It said, what are some tips you have to balance your academic and social life in college?
Um, this is a good question. I think it's when you first get to college, I struggled with this. I feel like you're kind of just really excited to get to college, and you try to like meet people and just make friends and such. I think the most important thing is your goal should always be, I need to finish my degree. Like that should always be your number one priority. And like everything else comes second to that. And that's kind of how the mentality I had. So especially like my last 2 years when I was on the dance team and like all this involvement on campus, like I felt like sometimes like it was hard to find time to do everything. But one of the main things I always told myself was like, I need to graduate in 4 years. Like I need to finish my degree, and making sure like you prioritize your education and you have time to study. Like if you know you're going to be like, let's say going out later on the week, like making sure you get your stuff, your homework and your studying, and making sure you get all that done first before all the extracurricular stuff that you get involved in. And I think for me, a lot of that was kind of like having more of like a routine schedule, like when I would get my studying in, when like I had classes, if I had like time in between classes, making sure I can fill in some studying in there. And just honestly staying organized, I feel like really is the most important thing. Like if you have assignments that are coming up, like making sure you don't fall behind on them and staying on track. Yeah, I would say organization, having like a schedule, especially if you are on the more busier side. Yeah.
And oh, I think Daniel has a question.
Yeah. Hey Ashley, I was just wondering, so I mean obviously you're taking like all these like pretty hardcore class like chem and engineering courses. So I was wondering like what kind of resources do they have like to help you like review material and all? Like
Mhm.
were professors as accessible, or was it more like they have tutoring services, or how did they do that?
Yeah, so we definitely had tutoring services that were available. They're basically like peers or like more senior level. Like for example, if I was taking like a software level biology class, there were like juniors and seniors who have taken that class, and they were offering like tutoring sessions. So like one of the things I used it really for was like for my higher division classes, and I realized like how underutilized those services are, because like some students don't know about it or sometimes they just don't go. So I used to get like one-on-one tutoring from these like kids who have already gone through these classes. They already know they've dealt with those professors, they've taken their tests before. So they had like really great tips that they were able to share, which really helped me in my classes. And also at UCR, I felt like the professors are very approachable, especially my upper division engineering classes. I think the max we would have are like 20, 25 students in every class. So the ratio of like students to professors was really great. And so professors always had multiple hours of office hours every week, and they were very like hands-on and very helpful. If you needed like help with like, I know some of my electrical engineering classes, like when you're trying to build a circuit, it's really hard to like type that over like a message or email. So like some professors will be willing to like come to the lab and like, do their office hours there, and they'll be able to like actually show you how to build that circuit or any additional help that you need. So I really appreciated my professors, and I appreciated the time that they put in. And you can definitely tell that they cared about their students and the well-being of their students. And they were also very, very helpful in like your future as well, because they also have like connections in industry that they were also very, very happy to share. So a lot of internships and a lot of people that I got to talk to in industry were actually through my professors. So overall, professors at UCR were very, very helpful and approachable.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. Next, I would like to welcome Alex Illikattil to talk about his experience at California State University, Sacramento.
Hello, everyone. I go to Sacramento State University, otherwise known as Sac State. It's located in the capital of California, Sacramento. It's right next to downtown, so you can find anything you need nearby without having to travel too far. It has a really diverse group of about 30,000 students enrolled, so it is a pretty big campus, but everything is pretty close to each other, so you don't have to walk too far to get anywhere that you need to. It's a really good campus that has a lot of trees and really big grass patches, so I would say if you like to be around greenery instead of like a city landscape, this is probably a great place for you. It has a lot of areas just relax at, have a picnic, or play outdoor games with friends. I myself play volleyball with people sometimes, just on the grass outside the gym. I major in accounting and I'm a business major. Personally, I just like math more than science, so I knew coming into college that I wanted to be in business rather than science. During my first year, honestly, my interest leaned more towards marketing and finance, but after talking to a lot of professors and faculty, I found that accounting was a bit more stable of a job, so I decided to pursue that. I only chose accounting my second year of college. So as long as you have an idea what area you want to pursue, you usually have about 2 years to explore different options until you have to choose what program you want to join. For business majors, it's usually a 2-year program. As for clubs, I didn't really join any clubs or do much extracurriculars when I first arrived because of COVID and such. So everything was basically closed, but by my third year, I decided to look into different clubs and socials I could be part of. Sacramento State has a lot of variety to their clubs. So whatever you're into, whether it be law, computer, medical, or business, there's a place for everyone. As for frats, I'm not part of any Greek life or frats, but I do have friends that are in frats or sororities. They tell me that the experience is pretty great. There's not really any hazing. So if you do look forward to joining one, don't be afraid. I myself was part of a business frat, but it's really just a club, and it's called Beta Alpha Psi or BAP. Helped me learn a lot more about accounting and what steps I should take in order to be successful. It helped me get great interviews and eventually led to me getting an internship, which I still have. So tuition is pretty low compared to others. It's around $3,500 to $4,000, depending on how many classes you take. There are scholarship opportunities from college, but they're pretty limited. But if you go to one of the offices or just look online, they can definitely help you find some opportunities that you can take part in. It has a really big library where you can study with tons of books to read if that's what you're interested in. I personally go to the library at least twice a week, just to chill with friends or to study really hard before one of my exams. It has multiple floors, so you don't have to worry about noise a lot. There's also another building right next to it, which is basically the same thing, but without couches. So usually when you have group projects, you go to the second building because it's more of a studious vibe. But the library has specific rooms you can claim for a certain amount of time with screens. So if you have online classes or online presentations, those are the best place to take them. The gym is really huge, and I mean really huge. They have 4 indoor basketball hoops, which also sometimes changes to volleyball or badminton. They have little rooms if you're into racquetball, and there's a ton of space with so many machines. I mean, if you go to the gym already, it's basically a really top tier gym that has a ton of equipment and programs, and they basically offer you anything you need. As for things I want to know before I came to Sac State, you should know that your advisors will help you, but it's mainly just to graduate on time. So if you have plans to study more after your 4 to 5 years, you should be talking to the different clubs and other people in your major to gain more information. I found out some things pretty late for accounting, so I struggled pretty hard during my 3rd year trying to catch up. So just make sure you start investigating life after college around your 2nd year so you can make your own paths for succeeding. Someone else's path is probably not going to look the same as yours, but it will be pretty similar. So you can take inspiration from them to make your own path to success. Also, college classes are pretty chill with professors usually being eager to help. So ask questions if you need to. You may only have 4 or 5 classes throughout a week, but the workload for those classes usually take a while. So make sure you keep up with them. Yeah, Sac State is a pretty chill school, like I said in the beginning. Everyone is really down to earth, and you can find people to talk to everywhere in every class and every club. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I wanted to ask you, what do you think your favorite club that you've joined or favorite activity you've been a part of at California State has been?
Well, I play a lot of volleyball, so I joined a volleyball club, and we usually just play at the gym every Tuesday and Thursday, and it's pretty fun. I mean, it's just a great way to connect with other people in different majors and just talk. Other than that, probably the business frat I was in. It was more of a clubs, and it helped me just gain a lot of experience in talking to professionals, get get an idea of how the real life day to day for accounting major is, or just an accountant, I guess. So that helped a lot too. Yeah.
I had a question actually. So I was an accounting major and I was also part of Beta Alpha Psi. So it's cool to see that you were part of that. I was wondering what sort of opportunities does Sac State offer for, I guess, like for grad school? Like I know a lot of accounting majors need to do 150 hours to take their CPA exams and also like CPA support. What sort of things do they do for that?
Yeah, there's this service, I guess, called Becker CPA, and you can go to them pretty much once every 2 months or so. They come to the campus, so you have a lot of opportunities to talk to them and help you figure out what classes you need to take and how to keep up to get to the CPA level, because you need 150 units instead of 120 units. I didn't catch them in time, so I had to take summer classes and extra winter classes to just make up for units. But yeah, that's the main source, I would say. But Beta Alpha Psi helped a lot too in just managing expectations and creating like a path for me.
Thanks, that's awesome.
Yes. I think there's questions in the chat too, from Matthew. Are there a lot of resources in the city of Sacramento for students at Sac State, like internships or networking events or anything like that? Yeah, there are a lot of just college fairs at Sac State itself. As part of Beta Alpha Psi, you get to go to a closed off internship fair, kind of college fair, and you get to talk to a lot of professionals in different fields and get to give them your resumes and everything like that. And a lot of the companies are from Sacramento, and there are pretty big companies in Sacramento, so you can just, if you want to just stay in Sacramento, you can just commute straight to there during college or during the summer. Yeah, there's a lot of networking events that you can go to, so there's a lot of opportunities. And from Stacy, with Sac State being mostly a commuter school, do you know what the options are for on-campus housing? I don't really know about dorms because I live like 20 minutes away. so I just commute. But as for apartments, there are a lot of apartments like right outside the campus, so it's literally like a 5-minute walk to 15 minutes. It's pretty close. I think I looked at them one time. It was about 900 per month, so not that expensive, not too really cheap either, but pretty good rates if you wanted to stay next to school. Yeah.
Piggybacking off that, what do you think are some pros and cons for being a commuter to Sac State?
A pro is probably you get to just stay at home, so you have your own bed, and you get to plan your own lifestyle. I guess. I mean, no, actually, no, that's a lie. But that's a con actually, because you don't really get to plan your own lifestyle. But I guess the pro is just that you can come home. Really, that's the main pro. But a lot of cons are just you have to drive. Sometimes there's traffic. It depends on what time you take your classes and everything. So just sign up for classes based on that. Yeah, mainly the driving is the con. And then you don't get to like hang out with friends as much as you want to. But you can always just stay at campus for like the whole day if you wanted to. Like I've done that before. Hang out with different groups of friends and just plan everything ahead, I guess. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. It doesn't look like we have any other questions, so thank you so much, Alex. Now I'd like to move to Renjith Moolakatt to help us get to know University of Nevada, Reno a little better.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Renjith Moolakatt. I am one of the few, the far and between that you'll find that grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. We had like 10 families growing up. I think we swelled to 15 at one point. I think they're back down to 10. So I had the joys of being in-state tuition for University of Nevada, Reno. Great school for engineering, fantabulous medical school program. They used to have a 7-year med program for in-state college kids for Nevada. And so that would be as a 3-year undergraduate degree straight into your MD program, which I think the 7 years is still there, but I don't know if the 8 years is as big of a thing. But that was a big draw for a lot of people coming from Vegas. It is a 7-hour drive from Vegas to Reno, so mom and dad are not knocking on your door whenever they want to come see you. It is quite the commute. But it was a great school. I did electrical engineering there with a emphasis on renewable energy, which I did not find at many other universities that I was reviewing. Renewable energy, it was a big reason for why I did electrical. That was a passion of mine since I was in middle school. And my dad being an electrical engineer, the joke was that he pushed me into electrical engineering and forced me to do it. But it was my passion. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Yeah, I had a great time there. I had many internships. The school itself is pretty large for being in Nevada, which is a fairly small state. I believe it was 20,000 kids for undergrad is what I heard last, and a 10,000 plus grad plus medical school. So about 30,000 kids is what I last heard, which was about 2 years ago. I used to work on the campus through a few different things. I was on the recruiting side for engineering. I went to middle schools and elementary schools and high schools and taught them about engineering skills to help promote STEM programs. We had multiple college fairs and career fairs to help you get internships. It was usually twice a year. And starting your sophomore year, you were definitely pushed to go in, introverted engineers. Not me, I'm an extrovert, but a lot of introverted engineers, you push them to talk to college or recruiters from different workplaces and get them to, shake their hand and, give them their resume and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed the University of Reno. I really recommend it that you go and try things outside your comfort zone. Seems like a lot of people here live pretty close to home. Great. I don't fault you guys at all. But it was definitely an interesting trip moving pretty far away from home. Very new environment. I lived in the dorms for the first 2 years and lived off campus for my remaining years of engineering school. And yeah, it was great. Tuition wise for in-state is about $8,000 right now is what I'm looking at. I just opened up the website, didn't know we were doing a Q&A on this for cost, so I apologize for not being a little more prepared. Out of state non-residents is about 25K, so it is a little bit pricey. It jumps up quite a bit. However, if you are part of the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program, which is mostly the West Coast, your tuition fees drop to 12K a year. Your dorm fees are going to average out to be about 10K, including room and board. So that is what it is if you're coming in from out of state or even if you're in state. Reno was a fairly mixed commuter and people living on campus school. So it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of resident life activities is what I call them, res life. So you had a bunch of intramural sports that you could do. I did, I think, every single sport that was available. It was a lot of fun. We weren't the best, but we crushed most of the sports, so that was always fun to win. Soccer was really interesting. They had 3 different seasons of soccer because it's really cold in Reno. For those of you guys that don't know, it does snow there. So you had regular soccer, which was during fall semester, and we had futsal, which was indoor during the winter semester. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else to talk about. Yeah, so I had 2 big internships. One my junior year, which I got through a political science course that I had as part of my renewable energy emphasis. And I was the governor's office of energy's first intern. They were not necessarily looking for an engineer when they were hiring the interns, but I just beat out all the political science kids on the internship interview. And I helped kind of create that program, which was a lot of fun. It was really interesting. They worked on creating the EV pathway between Reno and Vegas. And then there's another town on the complete opposite side of Nevada, closer to the Utah border, called Ely. And they were working on creating an EV pathway there. So it's just a bunch of charging stations. And there's a lot of small boom towns that used to be mining towns that nobody goes to anymore unless you're stopping for gas. They're hoping to revitalize those cities with the different museums they have there, with adding EV chargers, which 10 years ago now, 10 years ago now, essentially took you 8 hours to charge your car. Now you get a nice 1 hour charge and you're on your way. But back when we were looking at it, it was a much longer charge. It was a lot of fun. And then my second internship was working at a mine site of all places. Didn't expect that when I went to school. And I helped redevelop their entire solar grid array along with battery technology as well. So it was a lot of fun doing research on that and just helping out the electrical engineers and electricians on site. So I pulled wire. I helped erect electrical fences around their mining equipment. I bent the little holes that you see kind of up and around and the conduit that you have all your electrical wires in. So very cool experience that I don't know if I would have gotten at many other universities. University of Nevada Reno is pretty hands-on. Your first year, your first semester as an engineer, you're thrown into a group of random other engineers. Half of them won't even finish and graduate. And you build a hovercraft. Very little direction from your TAs and from your professors. They just kind of throw you in this group and say, good luck. Because that's what being an engineer is like. So a lot of the University of Nevada Reno curriculum was a lot of hands-on work. The class sizes were fairly large for your general math and science classes. I think my largest lecture was 400 students at one point. I think it was Calc 1 or Calc 2. It was a really large lecture hall. But after that, you had breakout sessions, which were about 20 people. And then by the time you get to your junior and senior years, you're just electrical engineering courses. So you're at worst 80. I think my graduating class was 60 of electrical engineers. Which included our biomedical engineering group. They kind of graduated with us on the electrical engineering side. And my power courses, especially renewable energy, were small, including the grad students part of those classes. I think the largest one I had was 10. So, I mean, you get pretty intimate with your professors. If you talk to them, like I did my junior year, I think, yeah, it was junior year, you can get into a lab pretty easily, which is pretty difficult at these large universities. You have to be 4.0 GPA student, really crushing it and have a bunch of recommendations. At Reno, I got lucky where I just talked to a professor that I knew was the head of the department. I said, hey, are there any labs that are opening up? And there happened to be a new lab, which was unmanned autonomous systems. So essentially drones that was getting started up the past semester. And so the next semester I was the first undergraduate resourcer. So that was a really cool experience kind of working through that. And then the next semester they had a bunch of new people join the lab, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, it was a really good time. Reno is kind of situated near Tahoe. For those of you in Sacramento, you guys love going to Tahoe. I love going to Tahoe when I worked in San Francisco. It's a small little lake town that is on the border of Nevada and California. And it's about an hour out and it is beautiful. One of the largest freshwater lakes you'll find in the US outside of the Great Lakes, obviously. And it's great for skiing and snowboarding. So if you like outdoor activities, Reno is going to be your spot. A lot of hiking activities, a lot of mountain biking, a lot of just cycling in general. We have a lot of small eclectic music spaces. So if you're looking for like small and upcoming indie artists, they'll randomly pop up in Reno. We had G-Eazy perform at our university for homecoming one year. So you get a lot of interesting people that come through, and also randomly famous people that come through to Reno. But if you're looking to get away from that, San Francisco and Oakland and Sacramento are not too far away. San Francisco is about a 4-hour bus ride if you want to take the bus. Sacramento is about a 3-hour bus ride, and they've got all the big name things you're looking for. But you can be in a smaller city in Reno without having to deal with all that. If you guys are looking for anything that I did afterwards, I can kind of talk about my work experience and stuff like that. But I've kind of jumped around a few different places since then, so I can reserve that for any questions that people have about what kind of careers I got after my career at Reno.
Thank you, Renjith. I had a question for you. You mentioned living on campus and then living off campus. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I'm an extrovert. So the first weekend, we called it a dorm storm, where we just kind of had a line of, I think, 200 people at one point that just went to everybody's dorm rooms, that, hi, my name is so and so, and then you just left, and you were just like a snake line from like the old snake game, and you just did that throughout every single floor. And I think once, like, obviously you met everybody, you went back to your room. But that was really fun, just kind of meeting a bunch of people for the first time. Like, I don't remember 90% of their names you're not going to, and you meet 200 people randomly like that. But it was just a cool like way to kind of like shake things up. I'd never done something like that before. Then they had like Greek life. They had like a weekend event, and so there's a lot of dancing. I'm a big dancer, for those of you that don't know. And so me and another guy who I became really good friends with, he's also another engineer, we kind of got the party started with the dancing, because they were playing some good music, but nobody was dancing, and we're like, what's going on? And then we kind of locked eyes and got a group going for dancing. So it was a lot of fun. Res life is a ton of fun. You can get involved in that. You can become an RA and stuff like that. But for me, it was more the intramural sports. I love playing every sport I can get my hands on, and it's pretty popular. It's actually kind of competitive. There was a lot of smack talk between different dorms, definitely happening the entire year. And my hall was the best out of most of those for like most of the sports. So it was really easy to win and kind of talk smack afterwards. Living off campus, they have a lot of housing that's pretty close by. So I think, except for my senior year, I lived within like a mile. So I could walk to campus, and they had a plethora of like small homes you could rent out, or like apartments that were pretty close by. There were ones that were a little bit further away, but they had like a bus that would go to, that was a pretty common space for people to live off campus. And then my senior year, I had my own car because I had an internship that was kind of far away. So I ended up just driving. I think it was like 3 or 4 miles from Reno, so from the university. So it was like a 5-minute commute, 10-minute commute. So yeah, Reno is not a massive city. You can live an hour away if you want to. You can live 30 minutes away. But you can also live pretty close and still have a pretty good time and feel all the activities that's going on campus. Yeah, Danny, looks like your hand's up.
Hey, Renjith. I actually just wanted to ask you about one of your internships. You were talking about, I think, creating a electric pathway, like charging pathways,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So is that from like Reno to LA, or where was that from, you said?
Yeah, so it was Reno to Vegas, and then Reno to a small town called Ely, which is closer to the Utah border. So what they were doing essentially was like every couple hours they had small little towns that were mining towns, and they were hoping to revitalize those places by adding a bunch of EV chargers there. Like, I'm not talking like 5 or 10, I'm talking like 20 or 30. And then having like, museums for like what was going on back in the 30s, like 1830s, not 1930s specifically, like back when like people were mining for silver and gold in Nevada. And then they have like, there are these hotels and motels that are like from ye olden times, right? So it was a lot of that, just trying to revitalize these like older ghost towns, these like small communities that have like 50 people that live there, sort of thing, but they're like, still trying to keep their town rolling. So they kind of had marked out a lot of different small cities they had decided would be good spots to kind of house these EV charging spaces. And the key thing for them is they wanted to make sure, because this is back in like, I think what my internship was 2015. They were trying to make sure that like every few hours you could have that, because Teslas were not what they are now. They had like the Nissan Leaf, which had like a 200-mile range or something like that. And Reno to Vegas is, I think, a 500-mile drive, 400-mile drive, somewhere around there. So it's not a short distance by any means. Like they're doing something cool. I'm sure they've upgraded their chargers now to like level 2s and stuff like that. So you got like an hour fast charge. and all that jazz. But the original intent was like you'd hang out for the day, maybe grab dinner and then kind of go. Or like you just grab dinner, you just kind of like, just to give some economy back to those towns is the goal for that. But that was at the Governor's Office of Energy, so in the capital. And so that's what they're trying to promote, promote commercial development within the state sort of thing, right?
Yeah, was like behind the project, was it like Tesla, or I know Electrify USA, that's like another thing, or are they like, is it like its own thing?
It was its own thing. I don't think they had decided on a vendor when I was there. Because I got there as their first intern. They didn't know what was going on. So I was like, let me get my hands dirty into everything. So I think I made a tweet for them. I like took pictures for them. I don't know, I met the governor at one point at like a big town hall, like city council thing, which was kind of interesting. But they also had like 2 engineers on staff. So I was like, hey, I'm an engineer. Maybe I can like help them with that. So it was still very high level when I got there. And I think the month after I left, they kind of were starting to finalize that. I don't think Tesla got it. But I think it was more like, I think they had like ChargePoint. I think ChargePoint ended up winning it, which is another big EV charging competitor with Tesla.
Nice. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
And
I guess, Oh, good.
Sorry, I said we have one question in the chat from Matthew. How was the adjustment from the heat of Vegas to the winter in Reno?
Yeah, it was quite weird. The first year it snowed, I think, in October, and all the Vegas kids come outside and they're freaking out because we haven't seen snow since we were 5. Because it snows once every decade at best in Vegas. Does not snow very often. And it didn't snow much. I want to say maybe a 1/4 inch on the ground. It's not a lot for those that live in snow. It's not a lot of snow. So yeah, I mean, it's just you have to layer up. I mean, in Vegas, it does get cold. It does drop to like 30s and 20s during the wintertime, but there's just no moisture to cause snow. So yeah, it was just a bit of an adjustment with that. You just buy thicker coats. And I don't know. You get used to buying thermals if it's real cold. I think it dropped to -15 a couple times when I was there, I think my senior year. So you buy some thermals. And then after I left Reno, I ended up working in San Francisco for like 3 or 4 years. And then I went to Denver for a few years, and now I'm in LA. So I've kind of bounced around a little bit. So in Denver, it was just the same climate for me. I was just like, oh, cool. I'm just wearing my thermals again. Not a big deal. And funny enough, Matthew's in Rochester, so he knows all about thermals. He lives in those in the wintertime. So yeah. So for work, I ended up getting a job at a consulting company in San Francisco fairly quickly after I graduated. It was called an MEP firm. So they do HVAC, electrical, plumbing, lighting, technology design for buildings. And our company was very pushing for net zero, net positive buildings. So that means they put a lot of solar panels on your building or battery technology within the building to promote less usage of the grid. That's why I joined them. They were a sustainable building development group. They're based out of Portland. So I had a lot of interesting different jobs through them. Most notably I had Facebook. Facebook was one of my largest customers. And I helped them build out the Pi Vista office down here in LA with electrical wiring and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. And then COVID hit, San Francisco shut down. I was paying infinite money for a shoebox and having nothing to do with the city because I didn't live at home when I lived in the city, because you don't when you live in the city and you're working, you're never home. So that killed me on the inside as an extrovert. Couldn't stay stuck in that box. So I moved out to Denver, worked there for a utility company called Xcel Energy. They're within like 7 or 8 states. It's a pretty large spanning company, but not a lot of customers. I want to say they have 5 million customers maybe. And then this past July, I moved down to LA and I work for Southern California Edison, which is the 4th largest utility in the nation with about 15 million plus customers right now. So a lot of people that are Cal State Fullerton, Riverside, all those people, I give them power. And I make sure you guys' lights stay on, sort of thing. But don't come at me if your lights do turn off. That's usually not my fault. It's not my area, I promise. Cool. Any more questions for me?
I don't think so. Thank you so much, Renjith.
Yeah, of course.
Next, I'd like to welcome our final speaker, Shane Syriak, to talk about California Polytechnic State University.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, my name is Shane Syriak. I'm actually Renjith's uncle, which I'm super impressed, Renjith. Excellent presentation. I wish I could say I was equally prepared, or we'll see. So I live in Orange, California with my wife, Gina, and my daughter, Gianna. She's 3 years old now. I currently work for Edwards Life Sciences as a design engineer. It's a biomedical company that makes replacement heart valves, implants, just like Ashley, actually. And I actually also worked for Boston Scientific at a heart valve company as well. So that's really cool. Learn something new every day. And so I am 34 years old. So take what I say with a grain of salt. The good thing is that we do hire a lot from Cal Poly. Like, our company loves Cal Poly students, and so I like to say I stay in touch with some of our new engineers. It sounds like nothing too much has changed. So basically, Cal Poly is a California state school. It's located in Central California. It's a beautiful small city called San Luis Obispo. It's about like 4 hours away from any major city, like 4 hours north of LA and 4 hours south of San Francisco. But it's right there close to the beach. It's 10 minutes away. Yeah, I think the closest city is Santa Barbara, and they have a cool school out there as well, UC Santa Barbara. The school is large. It's one of the largest in the country due to its large agriculture fields. It also has 20,000 students, which I think is like kind of standard for California state schools. It's a college town due to the small size of the city, but the large size of the school, right? So a lot of the houses are just like filled with college students. Like that's like a pretty popular thing. I did that my last year. I rented a house with like four of my other roommates who are engineers, and we had a good time there. And a lot of the houses are like that. It's a beautiful city. They have 7 mountains, so they call it the Seven Sisters, which tons of fun hiking. So if you love to hike, you love to go to the beach, that's a really good spot, San Luis Obispo. And they also have a nice gym. They just finished the latest gym. I'm going to speak about it because I played a lot of basketball, and a lot of people play basketball as well. There was 5 to 7 full court basketball courts, and like a really nice gym. They just opened it like the last year I graduated, which was 2012. It's a 4-year college quarter system. I went for biomedical engineering. That was my undergraduate degree. It was a relatively new field at the time for the school. Cal Poly is like mostly known for engineering, but biomedical engineering was like a brand new area. But yeah, like I said, Cal Poly is mostly known for engineering. Agriculture is a big field there, and architecture and business management. I would say are the 4 main majors of that college. I lived in campus for my first 2 years. It was a great time. I do recommend it. You just have to kind of balance the fun, because like I was with dorm. In my dorm there was like students from every major. Like I was engineering, which is a little bit more competitive than say my other friend over there, who was like mainly partying or having a good time. So I had to really make sure, like, if you're not serious about your school, your education, I recommend, like, Cal Poly is very fun. So you have to like really buckle down, because those, especially if you're in a competitive field like engineering, like your first couple courses, statics, dynamics, thermo, they're like standard classes, but they are competitive. You're competing with every engineer at Cal Poly, and that's really how they weed you out. And in your first year, second year, that's kind of where you take those classes. And that's also the same time where you meet all these people and you have fun and you're in the dorm. So it's kind of you really have to be self-motivated. So as far as like extracurriculars that I was a part of, there's a lot of side projects, a lot of hands-on projects. So I was part of this group called Innovation Quest, where we designed a postpartum hemorrhaging solution for third world countries. My roommate actually created a concept during that time. We didn't go with it, but he kept going with it, and it ended up being a real medical device that went commercial a few years ago. So you learn a lot, and there's a lot of smart people there as well. I think that's the best part, is the people who I met there. I learned a lot from really smart people, and it kind of shaped me to who I am today. I also was part of a fraternity, Delta Upsilon. It's a good social fraternity. I was there for like, I went there my I joined my second year. I didn't do it as my freshman year. The second year I went in and tried it out because I was just curious, and I have to say that was great too. It actually opened up my like communication skills, my extroverted like ability to like talk. And before that I was a very silent person and didn't speak as much. I would say now I'm like very much more talkative, and allowed me to network with people, get me my first job actually at Boston Scientific. Yeah, so there's lots of things you can do there. There's a actually big Indian club there. My sister went to Cal Poly as well, and she was all about the Indian club. Like all of her friends were part of the Indian club, and I had a good time there too. Like I just wasn't like that active in it, but I was like I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a good group if you're looking for like fellow Indian engineers or anybody. Tuition's about 11,000 in state, 30,000 out of state, 10K for like dorm living. So yeah, big difference from in state versus out of state. Campus and academic culture. So engineers are studying a lot, right? Like I said before, right? So you just really worked out. I would say one thing that I regret would be like taking like the education more seriously my first year. I think it's better to really work hard your first and second year, set your GPA up really nice, create that buffer so that maybe you can enjoy it a little bit more your last year when you're just applying. Your grades don't matter as much your senior year, but your freshman year and sophomore year, they matter a lot, and they also dictate if you get internships, right? And internships are huge. When we hire people from Cal Poly, they usually have 1 or 2 internships already, and it's still competitive. It wasn't as competitive when I graduated, so it's only getting worse, right? So you really want to just keep going at it. And I would say another thing I regret is not knowing my professors as much as I could. I think the professors at Cal Poly, they're all about hands-on work. They all promote, getting down and dirty, going to the machine shop, learning these real skills. And I think, if you get to know them more, like that will open up lots of possibilities. They all have connections with different companies. And one other thing, speaking about the hands-on, I actually went to UC of Irvine for my master's degree in manufacturing and materials technology. I don't have much data on that because I didn't do the research. It's similar in terms of, I think it's more expensive. In terms of like ease of getting in, I believe it's around the same. It was, I would say like the difference between UCI and Cal Poly was that UCI was more of a theory-based, and it's also very innovative though. They're very, when I went for my master's degree, even though it was manufacturing materials technology, I wasn't in the machine shop that much. I was reading books and learning about new technologies, but like it was very much book-based. And but they also have a huge startup crew over there. Like they're all innovative. They have a huge startup funding. So if you're involved in that, it's actually really beneficial. But Cal Poly is like really good for hands-on experience as an engineer, and companies love hiring from Cal Poly because like they come with like real world experience. They're if you tell them to build something, they're not going to open up a book. They're going to get to the machine shop and start building, right? And things that I wish I did before. Oh yeah, well that's it actually. Yeah, that's all I have. I already read that part. So does anybody have any questions?
We have a question in the chat. And it's from Matthew. Did Cal Poly have any resources to help you apply for internships?
They do. They did, but like it's not like it's resources that you have to go out and grab. They have a lot of fairs. Like we go, Edwards goes to job fairs at Cal Poly every quarter. So if you're active and you go out there and you reach out to your professors, you ask for advice, you ask for help, they'll guide you. And those job fairs, their companies are really wanting to hire from Cal Poly. So it shouldn't be hard in terms of like being able to communicate with them. So, but it can be competitive. But it's a really good opportunity. And I would say, like one thing I regret is like I didn't do any of that in my first 2 years. So you could definitely like sleep by and have those opportunities pass by, so it's not like they're gonna take you out and like pull you into those things. You have to go and grab it yourself.
I had a question. You mentioned how engineering is difficult and it can be hard to balance social life and academics. What are some tips you would recommend for that?
Well, I mean, I think it's about being realistic, right? Being realistic about what your expectations, who you are, and what you're ready for. Did you apply to school just because you have to apply to school, and you don't know what's going to happen, but you got into a pretty competitive program, but then are you actually ready to sit down and study? You just have to be honest with yourself, and like for my master's degree, for example, I um I decided that I'm probably not ready to go to my master's degree right now. Let me get some real work experience, build up some of that like actual need from a professional life. And so once I got that kind of understood, then I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I want to do with my master's degree, and I'm going commuting from work to school back home, and then I get like an hour, and then I go back to sleep, go back to work, so then I have this like schedule, and I'm just like, then you end up getting straight A's because you're just really good at things, so it's about like being serious, like, and I think Ashley's mentioned it before. She said, just working, understanding that school is most important, right? It comes first. And I think, I think you should just be honest with yourself and do whatever you can to help prepare yourself and to get good grades and to network really hard.
Okay, one final question. What do you think made Cal Poly stand out from other schools you were applying to?
Well, number one, my sister went to Cal Poly. She's an electrical engineer like Renjith, and she told me of how great the school was for engineering. And I also had another cousin that went there, Jimmy Pachikara. He went to Cal Poly as well. So I had a lot of family members that went there, and they're all strong engineers. And they told me like Cal Poly is like top. I forget what number, but they're like one of the top engineering schools in California. So um, it was definitely like I was definitely really happy and lucky and honored to get in. So for sure, I was like, let's go.
Renjith, you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, not as much of a question for Shane Joshin. Sorry, Shane Joshin's not really meant for you, but
All right,
just
I'm
like an
gonna.
FY. Yeah, just kind of like an FYI for all of the like, new college, starting kids, or like, you're looking for colleges. KCYL, I don't know if it's just KCNA, but they created a LinkedIn group, like essentially for jobs and like internships and stuff like that. And so while I was in Denver, I was actually running the intern group for my company, for like my team. And it's really easy just like posting stuff on there from, because like, when you're looking for interns, you post on LinkedIn or whatever, right? So when you get into school and like you start working, it could be like engineering, could be business, could be whatever, like definitely take advantage of that, because that was not there when I was coming up in college, and it's definitely really helpful. Shane Johnson didn't have that. I'm sure Ashley didn't have that. Alex, I'm sure you're in it right now, so definitely like utilize that as a really good resource, because even if it's not in the city that you're currently in, you can move. You have a connection, I'm sure, in whatever city you move to, as long as it's like a big enough city. Your dad or your mom's gonna know somebody at whatever city you're going to, right? So you're not gonna be completely foreign. But yeah, just highly recommend keeping an eye out on the LinkedIn site also, and join it if you're not already part of it. So just kind of, I guess, a shout out to that, and thank you to you guys for like putting this all together. This is awesome. I wish I had something like this when I was younger. So I guess that's what I was trying to say.
Thank you, Ranjit. Are there any more questions for Shane in the chat or raising hand?
Yeah, and then just to add to what Ren just saying, take advantage of like this network, right? Like all of us are here. I can help you if you have any questions, or if you're looking for whatever, a job, or I have a couple engineers at work that more recently they're interns at Cal Poly. So Yeah, there's a lot of people here with so much experience, so much advice, and a group like this is the ideal opportunity, you know.
Yep, thank you so much, everyone, for joining and for speaking. Today is our last regional college fair, and we hope these presentations have been helpful for you guys in exploring or discovering colleges that you're interested in. We'd especially like to thank all of our presenters today who did an excellent job sharing their college experience and advice with us. Presenters, if you feel comfortable with it and you want to, please feel free to put your LinkedIn or your email address or other contact information in the chat so anyone can contact you with further questions. To know more about KCYLNA events, follow us on Instagram at KCYLNA or check out our website or join our email list with a QR code right here. This is also our first event for this committee, and we'd love your suggestions or comments on what you would like to see in the future. So you can use the QR code on the next slide or the link that we'll put in the chat in a minute for any feedback you have for us. So thank you all again for coming out, and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Yeah, great job hosting.